welcome to Let's Be Honest, the podcast that's about people. The good, the bad, and the very, very ugly. Now, I doubled up on the very ugly so early in the episode because it does seem like there is a fuck lot of ugly out there at the moment. Now, I think this is episode, number 33, which, by the way, will be the final episode in this, the first series of Let's Be Honest. Now, stop that. We'll have no crying. Okay, maybe a bit more. Oh, that's very sweet of you. Why is it the last episode for a month or so? Well, Wise and Mrs. Oldman are off on a, let's call it a fact-finding tour of Europe. But there will be lots of ticky-tocky sort of nonsense coming your way, so be sure to follow at Wise Oldman. Also, it will give you a chance to catch up on all the episodes you haven't listened to, won't it? So I thought, let's go out with a bang, just in case I decide to cancel myself and be like a shit Terminator and not come back. You can't handle the truth. A line made probably more famous by the great Jack Nicholson in the movie A Few Good Men. But what is the truth? Tough question. Well, it is these days anyway. It also doesn't seem to quite hold the same power that it once did, does it? Is the truth just people saying it's my truth more than before, so therefore it becomes the truth in their minds? Or is it the Donald Trump style truth, because according to his supporters he tells it like it is, and when somebody suggests they are just telling it like it is, it must then, I guess, be the gospel. More on that later. Now, is this episode going to be my truth? Probably not. It's just what I think, meaning, and because I am logical and the last time I looked of sound mind, I am open to discussion. You remember discussion? Used to be quite fashionable before interrupting, shouting and walking away became the norm. Now my current state of mind is this. How can I put this nicely? Oh, I can't. We are fucked. But how are we fucked? And more importantly, who is doing the fucking? Also, before they do the fucking, are they buying us dinner? Is it consensual, and will they hold us afterwards and whisper sweet nothings in our ear? I think no is the answer to all of the above, don't you? As I said, it's the final episode in this season 1, so let's not mess about. Let's really get after some people today, shall we? Also, I would like it to be noted that because I drank so much in the last 2 episodes, I'm not going to have a drink this episode. I think it's for the best, don't you? I'm Wise Oldman, and this is Let's Be Really Honest.
I have a dream.
I would just like to point out that the dream is not the Sofia Vergara and cartoon Jessica Rabbit washing my car with a dirty, dirty cloth dream. Again. What, did nobody ever have some alone time with the cartoon? Fuck, did I just say that out loud? It got weird really quickly, didn't it? Christ, if that upsets you, I'd leave now. It ain't going to get any better. Now, I have a dream clearly doesn't work. Maybe I should put it another way. I have a problem. Actually, that's not totally accurate either. I have many problems, which I'm going to share with you. As always, you may disagree, but you would be wrong. Saying that, I am aware that I am contradicting myself here. I am pondering if I actually should even share my problems, my issues, my opinions. I quite often think, who cares really? Who gives a shit? Shall I, like lots of people, certainly my age, just sit back and watch the world burn? I mean, we've had our fun. And besides, many groups, you know who you are blaming anybody and everybody over the age of 35 for everything these days. If somebody calls me a dick enough times, whether I am or I'm not, I'm going to start acting like a dick. So blame away. You get my drift? Because I truly believe it's happening. The world is burning. And because everybody seems to blame everybody else, there is no accountability. People are not talking. They are just shouting, whining, and winning. When I say winning, I mean it feels like that's all it's about, winning. Newsflash, if this shit continues, nobody wins. By the way, I'm not saying that the world is a terrible place. Quite the opposite. Stats will tell you that the world is a far, far better place than it was 40 years ago, pretty much across every subject that you can think of. Now, I don't do this very often, but take a look at the book Factfulness by Hans Rosling. You may look at the world in a very different way. You know what? Maybe I should just go and live up a mountain and just shut the fuck up. I really have considered it as an option many, many times. It's funny, without being funny, but the older I get, the further I move away from people. I never wanted it to be that way. I don't even realise I'm doing it sometimes. Not until I've done it. I am torn though. On one hand, I think, no, I'm not going to turn my back on the anarchists and the activists that seem to really want the world to burn, and the Gen Zs and the Ys and other groups that just seem to want to blame everybody else for what's allegedly going on. I want to stand, talk, reason and push back if required. Then the other side of me just goes, fuck 'em, who cares? They will be the ones that are left with the world. I mean, I'm gone in 20, 30 years. Who are you blaming then? Your self-indulgent bullshit really will be falling quite literally on deaf ears. Besides, the next generation coming through are just going to blame you, the Gen Zs. What's your answer? Are you going to go shaggy on them? It wasn't me. It was him. You were just going to do what you're doing now, which is point fingers. But there won't be anybody there, will there? What are you going to do when nobody is listening? Maybe you'll have to do what every parent or boss used to say to my generation. Just get on with it. You figure it out. As a side note, when I say parent, I mean old school parent. Not the type that calls their child they, them or it, or give them a name like Peace, Indigo, or, and I saw this the other day, unique with a Y, or honesty spelt O-N-A-S-T-I, honesty. A kid called Honesty doesn't stand a chance. Maybe it's Onasty. Sounds like an Irish street fighter. By the way, if I am talking to some Gen Z people or somebody from another group, young or old, it doesn't really matter, this is the point where they usually say that I'm out of touch and I wouldn't understand. I couldn't understand. They would usually bark those words at me, of course. Many appear to be about harmony, but aggression does seem to be a default setting for these people, doesn't it? I do always wonder, though, which one am I? Am I the out of touch, or do I just not get it? Is it the same thing? I already know the answer, by the way. I do get it. Most of us get it. And again, like most of us, we are not out of touch. We just don't agree with you. I guess if I don't agree, I'm automatically branded a something phobic. Markle phobic, avocado phobic, vanilla latte phobic. Not convinced it really works. Have you thought about a trans person today? Not really. Should I have? You must be transphobic then. No, I don't think I am. I haven't thought about flowers. Hey everybody, he hates flowers. God, I wish I had a drink. Now, I truly believe that the good people outnumber the bad. And the bad know that, which is why they shout and scream like demented toddlers. And as we know, also like a toddler, if they don't get their own way, they stamp and scream and shout some more. They only do it for so long though, don't they? They usually run out of steam, eventually. Or just grow up. You know what? That going up a mountain idea I had a while ago, that could be a real win, you know. How about this? Let all of us sane people go up a mountain, live in perfect harmony, and let the rest of them fight it all out amongst themselves. Am I right? I love that, Wise. You are so not wrong. When are we going? Anytime soon, hopefully. We can then all come back down again when it's all sorted, and all the wankers would have turned on each other and argued themselves to death. Let me think about this. We could create an entry questionnaire at the foot of the mountain, or do base camp like at Mount Everest, where it's actually over halfway up the mountain. Yeah, let's do it that way. Let's see who really wants it. We will get somebody to stand with a clipboard at base camp. Hi, welcome to base camp. We have just one question. Are you a massive cunt? No. Cool. You're in. Am I right? Or, I don't know, Wise. Maybe it should be slightly more detailed and less crude. Good point. How about this? Question 1. Are you a racist? No. Is cruelty to animals bad? Yes. Do you put the word phobic at the end of everything? And are you just a general pain in the arse? No. Are you a victim? Definitely not, no. Where do you stand on donuts? I love them. Do you drink Bud Light? Not anymore. Do you hold yourself to a standard? I try to every day. Do you like tequila? Yes. Are you sure? No, but I'm willing to learn. Do you attempt to be nice to other human beings? Yes, until they are unreasonable and act like tossers, then I stand up for myself. Are you offended by everything? No. Do you drink vanilla lattes? God, no. Have you watched all the Fast and Furious movies? I watched the first one, then I knew what the other 9 would be, so I stopped. And finally, do you drink Starbucks coffee? Only if other coffee shops are shut, all the supermarkets are closed, and I've run out of milk at home. Oh, and the $1 coffee machine at 7-Eleven is broken. Again. All right then, you answered everything correctly. 100%. You're in. Would be nice though, wouldn't it? But who sets the questionnaire questions? That would be me. But that's just your opinion. You don't get to make the rules. That's offensive. No, it's not offensive. You're just offended. Besides, it doesn't really matter if you are offended. Why don't you create a world that you want to live in? This is my world. If you don't like it, be somewhere else. I mean, the little woke brigade, as well as certain other groups, are constantly blaming my generation and the generation before for putting the world in this position, not really realising that the world today is pretty cool, and for most of us, those people mentioned are just, I don't know, a pimple on the arse of the world. They don't contribute. They just put up obstacles and are annoying. Now, before we move on, I just want to touch on the truth. Me, I think it's an overused word these days. As stated in the intro to this episode, it doesn't have the power that it once did. Now, the title of this podcast is called Let's Be Honest. But being honest doesn't particularly mean the truth. I don't think so anyway. Maybe a better title would have been Let's Be Open. People want the truth. People demand the truth. The problem is, I don't think they know what the truth actually looks like. What they want is the convenient truth. Their truth, if you like. The truth is fucked. It can be anyway. The truth is nasty, it hurts, and is not always required or necessary. What we need is to talk, to reason, and to be more diplomatic. Somebody once said, a diplomat is a person who can tell you to go to hell in such a tactful way that you'll ask them for directions and look forward with pleasure to making the trip. I believe a lot of these young, wistful people that just sit around questioning life or go on marches seeking the truth are just pissing against the wind half the time. I think if confronted with the truth, they wouldn't like it or know what to do with it. Just imagine if that's the world we all live in. You may have seen the Ricky Gervais movie, The Invention of Lying. Yeah, great movie and a lovely idea. But let's not forget it's only a movie and there for the purpose of entertainment. Now in this movie, he used his newly found gift for good, generally. That ain't happening in real life. We've all met people. They're shit. Maybe wanting the truth and telling the truth are two different things. Still, when you have no logic, I guess you can make your own rules up. Take that vegan lady from the last episode screaming at that guy eating KFC. Now, she called him a coward. She called him a pussy, and she suggested that he had a small dick and said that he was going to die alone. That's what she opened with, and I think she was just getting warmed up. Not very nice at all, but that's the truth according to her. Now, if that's the new truth rules, you can now get in somebody's face, scream and insult them. But does that mean that he can say that, let's say, she had a face like a bag of spanners? That she will die alone smelling of cat piss? And as a retort to her very offensive "you've got a small dick" comment, can he say that her downstairs lady part probably looks like a kicked over trifle? I think not. If he would have said any of those things, all hell would have broken loose. But why can't he? How does she become more offended than him? Functioning society doesn't work that way. But it's coming. It has to. People will fight back. Or go up a mountain, of course. Take that Karen's Diner restaurant chain in Australia where the staff were allowed to be rude to a customer. It's their gimmick. However, if the customer is rude back to the staff, again, all hell breaks loose. So it seems the staff brief in this restaurant was, you can insult people, but you can't fat shame. Right, so if I went into this restaurant, they could make bald jokes, but not fat jokes. Also, I, as the customer, can't give it back to the waiter. Is that correct? But what if I'm bald because I'm fat? You know, stress and stuff. And now I'm fatter because it made me go bald. You just fucking upset me, you cunt. I bet I can't say that, can I? You can't choose what somebody else is offended by. Hypocrites. The truth doesn't always work. If any man or woman say that they are 100% truthful with their partner, they're just lying through their teeth. It's also like looking in somebody's diary. You might not like what you find, so don't look. As Jack said, you can't handle the truth. Which brings me very nicely onto the real truth seekers, so I'm told. The Gen Z types. We can throw in some Gen Ys and other groups for fun as well if we like. I'm sure some of these people overlap somewhere along the line. I was watching something the other day, and this kid, I don't know, couldn't have been more than 21 years old. I think he was a he. I'm not sure really. He can be anything he wants. Anyway, he was talking about trauma and collective trauma. He was likening what a Gen Z person has to go through today with the events of how people felt after 9/11. I know, staggering. I'll get to his explanation in a minute. Actually, another Gen Z said, nobody understands how hard it is. We had to go up through 9/11, the Sandy Hook shootings, and the Boston bombings. The horror. Mum, where's my fucking dinner? And so the world turns. When you said you had to grow up with those things, what did you mean exactly? That's like me saying when I was 19, I was so traumatized that I couldn't leave the house because of all the shit Pablo Escobar was getting up to in Colombia in the 80s. I mean, it happened. Not to me. Not anywhere near me. Didn't affect me. Did it? Saying that, in the 80s and 90s, myself and many others were living in London and just going about our business when the IRA were bombing the shit out of London, seemingly every weekend. Actually, when I think about it, I don't think the IRA did weekends. The bombing was more of a Monday to Friday deal. I guess terrorists back then were either lazy, bit tired, or more expensive on a Saturday and a Sunday. Just couldn't get the staff in them days, I guess. No, of course not. It was none of that. It was completely horrific, but it was to cause the most disruption to London and the economy. You literally couldn't sit on the tube without being told to get off as there was a bomb alert. Half the time, the tube would just stop in the tunnel, sometimes with the lights and the power off. Pretty frightening stuff. For the first week, anyway. It didn't stop you going to work. You didn't hide in your bedroom. You didn't sit around and talk about it all fucking day. At the time, you, me, all of us that were there, we were just pissed off that the bomb made us late for work, for a date. Or more importantly, late to the pub. Christ, my friend's car number plate was found on an IRA hit list. And when they blew up the bus in London and people actually died, well, that was some heavy shit, man. I sometimes took that bus and often I walked that way to work. I was on my way to work that very day when it happened. Shit happens. It always happens. That's the world. Christ, if that happened in London now, thousands and thousands of young people around the world wouldn't be able to get out of bed because of it. Incidents like that are an absolute tragedy. Unfortunately, they've also become an excuse for people to make it about themselves. 35 years ago and beyond, a young person just got on with it. Why? Well, because they had to. And also because they didn't know it was even happening. And also if they did know, most of the time they knew there was nothing they could do about it. So, to certain groups, I say, fucking toughen up. I may say that again later. I will. I don't know why I said I might. Now, any of those incidents mentioned by the Gen Z person would be extremely upsetting for those involved, their families and the local communities. Not so much for you, though. The Gen Z and the others, sitting in your bedroom. Where's your involvement in this? I'm just asking. I'm also not saying that you shouldn't be concerned. That would be wrong of me. Also, what did you do? If it's all too traumatic, which I'm informed it is, how did you cope? Maybe put some flags, a few broken hearts on Facebook? Maybe a comment on your Reddit community? Again, I'm not saying that making a comment or putting a broken heart on social media is a bad thing. I'm pretty sure I did it. But if I did, I realised that's all I did. I too am a hypocrite. But I know I am. I know often that I don't do enough. However, at the same time, I don't call other people out for equally not doing enough. That would make me a super hypocrite, wouldn't it? When you are encountering all that trauma, maybe some of the young or deeply affected even venture beyond the walls of their bedroom. Did you perhaps sit in Starbucks talking about the world like it's your own little literary salon and that's your contribution? At least we're talking about it. We're starting a conversation. Yeah, with each other, not with anybody with an alternative point of view. I guess it's safer that way. As it happens, I was offended in 1984. I even made a sign saying, Colombians are not nice. That showed that Pablo Escobar chap. Just say no to drugs, kids, and stay in school. I don't know, all these Gens, the Zs, and some of the Ys sitting around talking reminded me of an episode of Blackadder. If you haven't, do yourself a favour. It's always in the top 5 of everybody's favourite British comedies of all time. There was a scene, I think it was season 3, where these poets were sitting in a cafe looking all broken and thoughtful. Blackadder, the lead character, asks, "What are you doing?" "Good sir, we are dying," as they lazily lay their heads down on the table. They weren't dying. They were just being overly dramatic. Am I seeing similarities between a cafe peppered with dramatic, overindulgent poets wearing floppy white blouses in 1780 and a bunch of self-obsessed wet students in Starbucks in 2023? What gave you that idea? How very dare you? That's just offensive. No, again, you are offended. Me being offensive and you being offended, well, they're two different things. I'm just pointing out that there is an argument to say that certain people get unnecessarily dramatic without actually doing anything about, well, anything. So basically what this kid, our Gen Z friend, was saying is that people dying in events such as 9/11 versus somebody having to work 25 hours a week in a Starbucks or something, that causes similar trauma. You would have to work really quite hard to make that more disrespectful and, let's say, offensive, don't you think? Now, 9/11 was 2001, which means that this kid's dad hadn't even wanked off into a test tube by then. Yet he and the like-minded feel that they are an authority. These individuals just latch on to tragedy because they need some. They need the drama because nothing really important has ever happened to them. And they get all their information from that thing that used to be called books. The internet. Which I guess is just like a big shit never-ending book that's written by lots of different people. Some tell lies, some don't. But it is a compelling read, and some of you just can't put it down, can you? Now, this kid went on to talk about Africa, a stampede in Tokyo, and many other terrible incidents that have happened in the world, suggesting that it's all just so overwhelming and I just can't cope. I feel quite traumatized. Now where's the fucking sprinkles on my marshmallow and my diet mochaccino? God, the service here is so bad. I'm not tipping. Fuck! And so the world turns. Now, just like I was attempting to portray there, have you ever noticed how uneven some people with these groups are? They say it's passion. I say they're fucking unhinged. Many appear just to be right on the edge. It almost feels religious and cult-like. Cult? As already mentioned, if it doesn't go their way, they tend to shout, scream, and are becoming increasingly violent. Again, so much irony, so much hypocritical behaviour. Can they see it? No, of course not. I remember when I had a bar a few years ago. It was called The Bear, which is relevant. It was all very nice, very innocent, really. Now, I would take a popular or famous picture, then superimpose a bear head somewhere in that frame. Anything from Harry Potter and Trump to Kanye and James Bond. All in the name of satire and fun. I mean, it was a bar after all. Now, once, for fun, it may have been Easter, I created a Last Supper picture with Yogi Bear, Paddington, Winnie the Pooh, and other friendly bears. I think I may have made Fozzie Bear from the Muppets Jesus. It just seemed right. Am I right? Or I would have chosen Paddington, mate. Good call. I remember a religious person that came into the venue one afternoon. Now, they became very upset with me. Yes, they did. They were also quite upset with the picture. Now, this religious chap didn't really approach me or the situation very nicely, so I told him to get out. Yeah, I think those are the words I used. I attempted to explain my reasoning for the image. However, as per usual, anger and verbal abuse ensued. That's when you just give up and you just say, look, get out. If some people just have their own opinion and are not willing to listen, then I guess it's like arguing with a drunk. It's pointless. Anyway, this chap, I'm assuming it was him, went away and told all his religious chums. They were fun. They also became very upset with me. And when I say upset, I mean a bunch of texts and many, many emails. I do seem to recall a lovely selection of "we will burn the place down" using many creative swear words, all the way to personal physical violence. Interesting. Violence, blasphemy and intimidation. I don't think the big man upstairs would approve. I'm also not suggesting these people were hypocrites. Oh, hang on. Yes, I am. I also received an email from what seemed to be a rather sweet old lady where she said, "I don't mind Bearheads and all the other disciples. That's quite amusing, but just not Jesus." I left the conversation rather confused. Saying that, I did reply to her in a very nice way, mainly because she approached the subject in a respectful manner. And my mission was never to upset anybody anyway. It was just a bit of fun. Now, because of her and the way she approached me, I took all the online images down, but I kept the in-house ones up, and I told her that that's what I was going to do. She said thank you, and we moved on. Now, what's not funny, about this is that I'm sure they all thought they had a big win for Team Jesus. I then continued a few weeks later to do similar stuff, using the Buddy Christ from the movie Dogma, amongst many other images, etc., etc. Nothing, not a peep from anybody. I think it wasn't about Jesus. I think it was about the individual. They just wanted a win. That may not be the last time I say that as well. Just like today, I suspect a good 50% of people that do this, they're just trolls anyway. They just want to battle, they want to fight, because everything they were saying to me was going against really what I thought they believed in. They're either hypocrites or trolls. A similar thing happened in the bar on another day. Sorry to keep making it about the bar, but it happened. What can you do? Now, I had this thing called Mustache Corner. It was a very manly corner of the bar containing small framed pictures of people that were sporting a good quality mustache. Again, all a bit of fun. I would also buy people a drink if they could guess all the people with the mustaches. Nobody ever did, but a lot of people engaged, and as I said, it was fun. All the greats were on the wall: Burt Reynolds, Errol Flynn, Magnum P.I., and of course, Ron Burgundy. Also, I thought, for fun, popped a little picture of Hitler in there. What? He had probably one of the most iconic moustaches out there. Again, showing the hypocritical behaviours of people. One day this couple went fucking bananas at me. "Hitler was a mass murderer. He was terrible. People died in the war." I said, "I'm clearly taking the piss. I'm not celebrating him. He is between Basil Fawlty and Lionel Richie, for fuck's sake. It's a bar. I'm not walking around the streets of Sydney with a t-shirt saying, 'Hitler, what about all the good things he did?'" I then pointed out a picture of Pablo Escobar, again, because he's got a mustache. I said, "Does the Escobar chap bother you?" The lady said, and I quote, "He wasn't that bad, and I don't care about him." I said, "He blew a fucking plane full of people up, love." People are the best. Am I right? You're not wrong. I have to tell you this. Same subject, Mustache Corner. I swear nothing I say is ever made up. A woman came into the bar one day, had a drink, and sat in Mustache Corner. After a while, she called me over, then proceeded to have a right royal pop at me for being sexist. Why? because there were only men in Mustache Corner. Fuck me. Which way is it to that mountain? I was listening to Ricky Gervais the other day, and he was talking about his last Netflix special. He stated that on his show, he talks about Hitler, cancer, mass genocide, and a million other horrible, horrible things. However, he received 99% of the complaints to be cancelled for the Caitlyn Jenner jokes. Are these people just cherry-picking and making the rules up as they go? Well, yes is the answer. Now, this Gen Z individual person, we may as well stay with him for a while. He's good fun, and he speaks for a generation. Now, he went on to say that YouTube is now my thing, my job. It looks like it's my career now. So I need funding, because as mentioned, my opinion speaks to a generation. I speak for you. Which again, I'm not going to lie, it confused me. Because he was blaming the internet for all the information that was fed to him regarding world issues and all the other bad stuff that happens. The little darling went on to say that he just feels dark, broken and dead inside. It's all just too much. So according to you, Gen Z are dead inside, and you are angry, broken and traumatized for the things that you watch. Right. Is it way too obvious to say, just don't watch all the shit then? It's a choice, as always. I remember my mum used to get on the phone to me and tell me that she'd been watching the news, current affair programmes, and of course, Coronation Street, and it's all so upsetting. I said, Mum, don't watch them. Why do you watch this stuff? I mean, she had an excuse for watching that shit. She was 85 years old. What's your excuse? I think you like it. That's what I think. Creating false drama. Just like a reality show, I guess. Although, you're the star, aren't you? I have a question. Before the internet, did people used to finish reading a book and then go, I can't leave the house now. I'm traumatized. I've read 3 books this week. I can't cope. Who made me read that last fucking book? That Willy Wonka was a pedo. He wasn't. Now, certain people, like my Gen Z friend, may call it, whatever it is, trauma, which is a powerful word, to be fair. Probably why it's used. However, I, like many people of my age, have been through some things in our lives. And I'm talking about people my age, let's say between 50 and 70. Now, I don't think that we really know what trauma is. Stuff happens, of course. We get sick, marital, relationship problems, work, family issues, money issues. However, the generation before us, they had to cope with a fucking war. Some of them, 2 fucking wars. That was trauma that you and I can't even begin to imagine. So people between 50 and 70, my lot if you like, well, most of us haven't experienced war or any of the fallout that comes with it. So you, some of the X's, and especially the majority of the Z's, have experienced next to nothing. Which, for me, is why you have to use examples like 9/11 to latch onto. You, in some warped fucking universe, want something bad to happen so that you can feel bad. But it doesn't happen, so you latch onto things. You don't know how blessed you are. Fuck, we all are. I am, of course, generalising a little. I know some truly fantastic people that are Gen Y, and especially the Gen Zs. You haven't worked. Not really. You haven't loved and you haven't lost. Not really. Is it your fault? No, not really. But a lot of you do still find time to blame and lecture everybody else. It's incredible when you think about it. I was watching a TV show actually last night, and the mother caught the daughter getting lots of gifts delivered to the house. Turns out the 17-year-old daughter was rinsing men. The, of course, horrified mother confronted the girl in an attempt to make her realise just how wrong on so many levels this was. The daughter's reply, men have always been in control. This is me being in control. And of course, this is the way of the world, and you wouldn't understand. Luckily, it all worked out, because it's a TV show. Nobody over the age of, 35 or 40 seemingly understands anything. That's the word anyway. Am I just slagging certain groups off? Yeah, a little bit. But at the same time, the big message is stop shouting and just talk. Maybe occasionally listen. The world is not that bad. But it is. Because I think you want it to be. I think many people are an extension of, as mentioned, a reality show. They just need the drama. This Gen Z kid went on to talk about working. He said that you don't get any compensation for working. I was in the hospitality industry. Again, meaning he did probably 2 months in Starbucks or Macca's. It's really hard work and you don't get compensation. You get paid, you little fuck. That's the compensation. I've said it many times before. Don't do it then. Don't work in the service industry. Just sit behind your IKEA desk in your bedroom and continue to hate the world. This kid went on to suggest that all old people say is that Gen Z is soft and we should toughen up. That's just so easy to say every time, isn't it? That's all we hear from you, isn't it? That's actually what he said. Nothing new, I guess. I hear that all the time, as I'm sure you do. But yes, that is what older people say. Because you need to. You need to toughen up. And just because you say that we say it doesn't make it any less true. Toughen up. If you are rendered almost incapacitated by something that's happening in a different country, then toughen up. If you can't stand working weekends, yes, toughen up. Can't imagine an 8-hour day, your boss shouting at you? Yes, toughen up. Now, it may seem it, but I don't mean toughen up in a nasty way. You don't need to toughen up for me or the next person. You kind of need to do it for you. Does that sound patronizing? Good. Remember from a few weeks ago, the Starbucks closet kid, the one that was crying because he had to work too hard? Well, this Gen Z kid on the internet, he defended him. Now, the kid in Starbucks had 2 choices. Go in a closet, go on social media, and complain that your life is hard. Or, what's the phrase? Toughen up. He chose door 1, his choice. He took the easy choice. That is his truth. Now, if his boss was slapping him around and customers were pissing on him while he was frothing his milk, oh, that sounded strange, I don't think anyone would say, toughen up. We would have sympathy. But he was complaining about doing 25 hours in a week and that there were just so many customers. Yeah, I think toughen up is most definitely the phrase. Or, and let's go back to where I usually go. What is it that you want? What's the answer? Tell us, because I, for one, am genuinely interested. You see, I don't think I get as annoyed as I used to. I genuinely want to say to people like this, and this is not an isolated incident, by the way. What do you want? Give me your solution to your problem. Then I might tell you why that can't happen and the reasons. But you have to stop, listen, and not roll your eyes and walk away. Is that fair? Yes. No. You just rolled your eyes, didn't you? But the kids in Sudan are dying. I can't cope. The horror of it all. Why is my fucking Diet Coke warm? And so the world turns. A lot of people, just like Mr. Gen Z, the YouTuber, just want money and comfort for little or no work. I guess he could just go on OnlyFans and get his tits out. Now, I often call people stupid, but I don't mean stupid. I just mean ignorant. Ignorant is not the same as stupid. I just think consistent ignorance makes you stupid. I must admit, I do love it when certain types harp on about climate change and capitalism as they sit and eat their Maccas, drink at Starbucks and wear their Nikes, also living in a wonderfully privileged time that is arguably the greatest time on earth. They will quite often smash the windows of these big corporate giants like Macca's just to prove a point, then go for lunch the next day. Hypocrite? Me? No. So, a few world wars aside, which are never really mentioned by Gen Z, and to be fair, quite possibly didn't even happen. If there wasn't a generation before them, there wouldn't be a them, quite literally. Yeah, but I didn't like Churchill. He was horrible, and he sent people to die. I didn't agree with him, and he was a racist. Maybe he was. Okay then, just to touch on that point. So if you, the eternally offended, do 25 amazing things in your day, I know you won't because you're too busy sitting in the middle of a road and shit. Let's just say that one thing you do is, I don't know, winning a war that affords us the life we have today. However, you, other people think, are a bit racist. Is all the good stuff that you have done forgotten? That one alleged racist thing trumps everything? Point being, do you think that for all the good that you have done for the world, actually done, what you will be remembered for is some teenagers 70 years from now slagging you off because they read some books and interpreted something to fit their own agenda? Books can be bollocks. If books can be bollocks, then the internet is double bollocks. Your teacher or professor may be just pushing their own agenda out there. Is that possible? Surely not. How do you know the Bible isn't bollocks? The Bible may be the epitome of bollocks. It may be storytelling at its absolute finest. Nobody knows. Not really. We need to stop blaming. And we most certainly need to stop dragging up things from 20, 30 and beyond years ago. It was a different time. But that doesn't make those things right. Ugh. No, it doesn't. I agree. But most of those things are not happening today. It was the time. It was a different time. But okay, you are correct. You win again. So what do you want to do about it? Even though you are all so young, you appear to have all the answers. First generation ever to have all the answers at 21. Fucking brilliant, really. Well done. We could take Churchill's statue down, cancel the TV show Friends, stick it to J.K. Rowling. Let's do that, shall we? But before you take the statue down, if you are lucky enough to have grandparents around, ask them what they think. You love and respect your grandparents, right? Good. Just make sure you stand back when you offer your perspective, especially if they have a walking stick or a commode full of smelly piss. Oh, and make sure they don't have a pen at hand, because you are getting written out of the will that very second. Let's cancel Friends, as suggested. That will teach those multi-millionaire actors a lesson. I mean, J.K. Rowling, she can fuck right off as well, the bitch. You go ahead and burn all those evil, something phobic Potter books. Also, let's take all her money back. That's money of what was a single mum when she wrote those books. Yeah, that's girl power right there. You go, sisters. But hey, as long as you get your point across and win, that's what matters, right? Forget ruining people's lives. Forget dragging up things from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's all about a win for the cause. What was the cause? I don't know, you tell me. Fuck those child actors as well. Radcliffe, you little shit, and Little Miss Feminist Watson. You're broke now. We're going to take all your money because you're guilty by association. I mean, you have to do all those things. Where do you draw the line? Surely you're not going to be a hypocrite again, are you? Or you could just leave it all alone. Get off your fucking soapbox. Stop poisoning everybody just because for some reason you feel hard done to, and concentrate on a better tomorrow, which I think is far more important. What do you think? Maybe, and I know I'm being crazy here, improve yourself instead of trying to improve the world. Just to touch very gently on a few other things, women should be respected. Agreed. Yet every single rap, hip-hop or so-called R&B video seems to depict women as sex objects, and if you throw enough money at them, they'll probably do a turn. I don't see that many Gen Z people going after those people. Surely some of you young right-on people out there like that music? Hypocrites. And you don't know you are. Or do you? And it's just okay. What music do you like? How about Chris Brown? He's a good role model for the ladies. Hypocrites. The truth on all those things mentioned? The truth is that you're all full of shit. I do like the idea of equality, though. I have an idea. Why don't we get men who want to be women to compete and bash the shit out of other women in sports? Oh, shit. You already do that. Maybe I am out of touch. So what am I saying? I'm trying to say, stop blaming. Let's listen. Let's stay at the table. Let's talk. Let's work it out. Because if you don't, and you just want to shout, that tells me that you don't have that much faith in your own argument. This, in my opinion, is why you shout, scream, are abusive and walk around in packs. Alone, you're pointless. Just loud. To be fair, collectively, you are also loud. Still pointless. If I asked an activist or anarchist, Gen Z, X, even a Karen, are you a reasonable person? They would have to say yes, wouldn't they? No buts, no conversation, yes or no. Nobody would ever call themselves not reasonable, would they? They would just be shitting on their own doorstep. So if you are reasonable, my reply would be, great. So let's sit, talk and work it out, whatever it is. Now, how long would that conversation last? Exactly. Until you or I said something the other party didn't want to hear. You only want one flavour of the truth, the convenient kind. That mountain from 30-odd minutes ago, it's looking pretty appealing now, isn't it? Going back to my point from right at the start, I do sit here sometimes, certainly when I'm about to do the podcast, and I think, what the fuck is the point? Is it worth it? Who am I doing this podcast for? Who am I actually talking to? And what is my actual goal? My wife often asks me what demographic of listener I am attempting to attract. My answer, I don't know. I have no clue. I know what I would like it to be, I said. I'd like it to be everybody. When I started this podcast 32 episodes ago, it was something different. It was really some training modules for an app that me, my wife, and a friend were developing. Then we realized that something we had been working on for a year and a half was being developed by somebody else that had way more money than us. Bugger. It was then that my wife said, why don't you just embellish on the hospitality training modules? I think it was really just her way of saying, go away and write some stuff. You're getting on my nerves. She makes a fair point. So I did. However, after observing and speaking to lots of people in hospitality, I realized that a lot of them just don't give a fuck, and they are very, very wrapped up in themselves, as well as blaming the world for them being in hospitality. These days, my absolute heart goes out to any business owner who attempts to employ and engage with the new generation coming through. It must be a bloody nightmare. I mean, why would you stay in a job if you can just go online, get your bits out and make thousands? People today, and I'm not just particularly talking about the young, have no morals, no soul. They don't care. They don't care what they will be in 10 years because they think money is the answer and it will solve all their problems. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that you get discovered on TikTok. You then go on OnlyFans, I don't know, dressed up as a sexy bunny while juggling donuts, eating hot chips and reading the football scores to blokes. You make a bundle in a short space of time. You're all sorted, happy days. Now, I would say that 99% of people that historically have made it in real life talk about the journey all the time. The ups, the downs, and the fact that the journey is what built their character. Now, if that's the case, which it is, because you haven't had a journey to get to your money-filled destination, you have no character. How are you going to cope with love, life, and all the shit that will happen in your future? You are already broken. Just because you think you are a character, it doesn't mean to say you have any. And that's the truth. It's also not debatable. Am I right? Yes. The more I research, the more I observe and talk to people, the more I see that we're fucked. So as the episodes progress, I continually ask myself the question, why the fuck am I doing this? Am I just wanking off into my laptop? Just to finish off, have you ever read the book called Popcorn, written by Ben Elton? Without giving you the whole thing, the conclusion of the book is two young people. They have kidnapped a famous movie director in his own house on Oscars night. Now, this couple, they're young and disillusioned. They see no future for themselves. They hold a few people hostage and invite a TV crew into the director's home. They go live on American TV. Now, what they ask of the general public was, if you all turn your TVs off now, the director and the other hostages will live. If you keep watching, then they all die. He holds a gun to the director's head. The book ends. What do you think happened? Did America keep watching? The book was 1996 and it's still on the money to this day. The book ends with a line, no one has taken responsibility. Has anything changed? Or has it become worse? We watch, we comment, and then we hide. Just like in the book Popcorn, the Gen Zs can't turn it off. The horror. We have become obsessed and consumed in the search for the truth that we neither want nor need. My wife said to me, "Why do you get so passionate about this? Why does it bother you so much?" I thought about it for a while, then I replied, "Because I'm so afraid that we're really going to fuck it all up. I watch a lot of the bullshit on Insta and TikTok because I feel I have to. But it makes me angry and literally sick to my stomach sometimes. I also talk to a lot of people and they say that they don't even go on social media anymore, which is a shame because the whole internet thing, it really was a gift. But should we ask ourselves why we don't? We know why. You, the sensible people, you turned off from the horror. I blame a lot of it on media, of course. Not totally, but quite a lot, because for me, they should know better. They are just feeding on the stupid. Saying that, I'm sure you could get a journalism degree out of the packet of Crunchy Nut cornflakes these days. They're just parasites. There have always been people in the world that don't know any better. There have always been cunts in the world. Ever since Mike the Caveman. He was a dick. We just didn't celebrate him. We do now, though, don't we? We talked about being reasonable a while ago. Reasonable doesn't work, though, does it? On the internet, it doesn't thrive. Stupidity, ignorance, and nastiness does. We are normalizing the abnormal. And we are fucked. We are building nations of cowards and lazy, faceless zombies. So the truth, where this started. Can you handle the truth? Fuck me. Woo, that got a bit heavy at the end there. Sorry about that, kids. Still, life isn't all jelly and rainbows, is it? Or is it? For most of us, it's a choice. Right then, I'm off on holiday to eat jelly and chase rainbows. While I'm doing just that, it will give you a chance to catch up on all the episodes. So make sure you do that. I will be sharing while I'm away, so please follow on Facebook, Instagram, which is LBH, Wise Allman. That's Wise with a Z. And also a phrase I never thought I would say, follow on TikTok, Wise Allman. I would also like to take this opportunity to say that I really appreciate you all listening. What makes me come back each week is when I receive messages from people saying that the podcast helped them with their staff, others that say they enjoy the little pockets of wisdom, and some that just say it made them laugh and it cheered them up. I will take any of those, so thank you. As they say in the credits at the end of every Bond movie, James Bond will return. So Wise Allman will return. Unless Bond comes back in the next movie as a woman, then I'm going to live up that fucking mountain. Speak soon.